some $3 billion was raised by startups, including Indian ones, in 2017 through cryptocurrency offerings called ICOs. They are largely unregulated, and governments and VCs are trying to figure out how to deal with them. Bengaluru, when on-demand cab services gained prominence, governments oscillated between banning the services altogether and framing a policy to regulate them. They are now in a similar quandary with respect to initial coin offerings or ICOs, cryptocurrency-based offerings, similar to IPOs, which startups in particular are beginning to use to raise money and which are emerging as a threat to venture funds. Despite some heavy-handed measures by some governments, especially China, against ICOs, startups globally raised close to $3 billion in 2017 through such offerings. Several Indian startups were among them. DriveZ, a self-drive car rental platform, raised $5 million in the US. Quandary, a token exchange platform, raised $1.2 million in Singapore. Belfrix, a cryptocurrency exchange platform, raised $2.2 million in Singapore. Secured network platform SpringRoll, gifting platform Easter Egg and enterprise software solution platform Loyak are in the process of raising funds through ICOs. An ICO is essentially a combination of an IPO and a crowdfund, but instead of getting shares in return for an investment, investors get crypto tokens generated by the company. These tokens can be used to get access to the technology the company is working on, and the investor can trade them like stocks. With no regulation in place, the rules for each ICO, like the value of the token, the use case of the token, the time period of an ICO, are all decided by the company itself. Risk of scams. This is what skeptics are wary about, the lack of a regulator that can curb frauds. An ICO may have the same implications as those of cryptocurrency. It is at risk of being used in scams and investors should enter them carefully, says Prashant Phillips, technology lead and partner at law firm Lakshmi Kumaran. Ashish Anand, CEO of Blockchain Advisory Council, a consulting firm on blockchain, the technology underlying cryptocurrency, says that in India, companies can try and raise funds only if they're generating what are called security tokens, and not the more popular utility tokens. A company can technically go for an ICO under the cumulative investment scheme, which allows a group of investors to collectively put money into one company, but it needs to be done through security tokens so that it falls directly under the SEBI lens. But it has a lot of regulations that companies should abide by. If the company is generating utility tokens, then it will be termed illegal, he says. Security tokens are tradable assets, which can be exchanged for other tokens, while utility tokens give the investor access to the technology he/she is investing in. Both tokens can be in cash anytime. Easier to list overseas. To avoid the complications, Indian companies are looking to countries like Singapore, Belarus, Estonia, and the UK, where it is simpler to launch ICOs. It's also easier to incorporate businesses in these countries. Anybody can register a company online in Estonia. There is no taxation for 5 years for a company registered in Belarus. Regulations are not clear in India, so it was better for us to do it in Singapore. You can easily register a business online in these countries. We have raised north of $1 million, says Abhinav Ramesh of Quandary. The US is becoming stricter. Phillips says that ICOs are treated as a security in the United States, and time and again the US SEC has warned that compliance with its regulations was mandatory. Delaware-based SpringRoll, started by Kartik Mandaval, is looking to do an ICO this year in Cayman Islands. Salim Ali, founder of blockchain-based enterprise software solution provider Loyak, says choosing the right country to incorporate your company matters because it's easier to do ICOs if you are incorporated in the country where you are doing the ICO. The 4-year-old company, which is backed by top executives of SAP, Time, and others, is incorporated in the US, but it has a UK entity as well, and Ali has selected UK to launch his ICO, slated for April 20th. The target is to raise $45 million. And startups say they are not bothered about Google and Facebook recently banning crypto ads. Google ads hardly play a role. Most of the marketing for ICOs is done through eco-media websites like Cointelegraph. Only an amateur would Google for an ICO. The ad rates of the eco-media websites have also gone up due to the increase in demand for them, says Ali. VCs, big biz, government showing interest. An entrepreneur, who did not wish to be named, said interest in ICOs is now rising among corporates and traditional venture capital firms too. Every single VC is thinking about it as ICOs are taking away their business. The biggest advantage for an investor is that they get an exit anytime they wish by encashing the tokens, he says. Many startups have started working with the Indian government to legalize and regulate ICOs, and say they are seeing a positive response. It took a long time to have IPO rules in place, notes Mandaval, indicating that eco-regulations may also take some time. Ashish Anand predicts ICOs will go through the same evolution that IPOs went through. He recollects instances of fraud companies raising funds through IPOs and vanishing. SEBI then came into the picture and cracked down on fraudulent practices. ICOs will see the same, he says.